Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadiyajit Mukhakaroti Vachalam Bangolangayate Girim Yatkipattamaham Bande Sri Guru Ninatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Iswaram Janavidato Anajabrithyavasitam Natincha Bodheshwa Kileshu Chatmana Nisyadata Tadbhutva Rupamatvahan Stande Sabayang Namrigang Namanusham Hare Krishna Anubad Navijjo Prahlad Maharajের বাক্যের সত্যতা প্রমাণ করার জন্য অর্থাৎ ভগবান যে সর্বত্র বিরাজমান এমনকি সভাগৃহের স্তম্ভের মধ্যেও বিরাজমান সেই কথা প্রমাণ করার জন্য পরমেশ্বর ভগবান শ্রীহরির এক অদৃষ্টপূর্বক অদ্ভুত রূপ প্রদর্শন করেছিলেন সেই রূপটি ছিল না মানুষের না সিংহের এইভাবে ভগবান এক অদ্ভুত মূর্তিতে সভাগৃহে আবির্ভূত হয়েছিলেন তাৎপর্য হিরণ্যকশিপু যখন প্রহ্লাদ মহারাজকে জিজ্ঞাসা করেছিলেন তোমার ভগবান কোথায় তিনি কি এই স্তম্ভে রয়েছেন প্রহ্লাদ মহারাজ তখন ভয়ে উত্তর দিয়েছিলেন হ্যাঁ আমার প্রভু সর্বত্র বিরাজমান তাই প্রহ্লাদ মহারাজের উক্তি যে অভ্রান্ত সেই কথা হিরণ্যকশিপুর কাছে প্রমাণ করার জন্য ভগবান স্তম্ভ থেকে আবির্ভূত হয়েছিলেন
Jayapataka Swami Maharaj on October 1st, 2008 in Hong Kong. The evening lecture was about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and was given with Chinese translation. last minute there was some very happy to see all the wonderful devotees here. This kind of work which seemed like it might become an obstacle to come.
前几天呢是那个ISKCON 马雅峰的有一些事情叫我处理，
in Bangalore.
在班加罗尔。
But by Krishna's mercy, I'm here, everything's okay.
由于Krishna仁慈呢，我现在终于能够到这里来。
I'm very fortunate to have all of your association.
我觉得非常幸运，能够得到大家的联谊。
Today is the, I'm told it's the special Hong Kong day where they'll be having fireworks.
我听说呢，今天晚上呢，这个香港有这个烟花表演。
We have permission to Harinam.
那么我们今天呢，得到香港政府的允许呢，可以到大街上进行Harinam。
1 hour and 15 minutes.
那么是1小时15分钟。
मुझे अपनी जिंदगी के 5 दिन दीजिए और इन 5 दिनों में मैं आपको नेगेटिव थिंकिंग से
talk also before that by about 7 so that we can go and take our position.
那么呢，这样呢，我大概呢，我会这个讲课讲到大概7点钟，然后我们就出去这个参加Harinam。
Last year when I was here, we had I also went on the Harinam. It was very inspiring.
那么去年呢，我们也在香港进行的Harinam，这个呢，我觉得呢是非常鼓舞人心的。
The following is a lecture given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami on September 5th, 1984 in Gold Fort. The class begins with a reading.
Silent. Lotus leaf is of course much more smooth and passive in its own way. But that drop of water just spins on the top, that has no fixed place. Like that, unless the mind is anchored to the lotus feet of Krishna, unless it's fixed on Krishna's lotus feet in Krishna consciousness, then the mind will always be susceptible to be swept away by any one of the 6 senses, including the mind. So as a result, the mind cannot be steady. Therefore one cannot be peaceful. Verses it also explains this. It's like a boat which is on the ocean and it's being swept away by the wind. If a boat loses its rudder, steering mechanism in the back, then the whole boat just gets blown away. So if our intelligence is not fixed in Krishna consciousness, then even if we try to remain in some aloof position, in a so-called transcendental position, the senses, the mind will always tend to rest somewhere. Just like a bird that can't fly forever, it's going to settle on some tree. So if we don't take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, the mind is going to take shelter of one of the senses. And then the senses will be agitating the mind, will be drawing the mind away. In this way, one again gets drawn into material consciousness. Just like Vishwamitra, he was born a Kshatriya, but he wanted to become a Brahmana. At first the society wouldn't accept him, that he was a Kshatriya. How could he become a Brahman? But the Guru said it's possible, and following their advice, he did some tapasya. And he was finally recognized as a Brahmana. But Vishishta Rishi didn't accept him as an equal. He was proud that he was a Brahmana. But Vishishta was himself much greater than an ordinary Brahmana. He was a Brahma Rishi. Apparently, in the level of Brahmanhood, there's different stages of potency. From a Brahmana to a Rishi, to a Maharishi, finally a Brahma Rishi, who can go up to the planet of Lord Brahma even. So, this is a very long story. There is off and on some competition between Vishishta and Vishwamitra. But Vishwamitra is trying to gain recognition, trying to advance. One point, he, of course, had such a scene with the demigods. He would do tapasya and he'd gain his strength and he'd become so powerful. So one time there was a Sudra and he prayed that he wanted to go to Swarga, he wanted to go to the heavenly planets. His name was Harishchandra, it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So then Vishwamitra, he sent him by his mystic power up to Swarga Loka. But Indra said, this person is not qualified, he hasn't gone through the necessary pious activities, he doesn't have that type of karma, he should come here. He sent him back. And then Vishwamitra had kept him up, so he was halfway between Swarga and the earth, between the Indra Loka, just hanging there. And Vishwamitra was very angry that Indra was refusing to accept the person he had sent. So then, since he couldn't, but Indra is also not an unpowerful person. So then finally, Vishwamitra, he created an entire duplicate heavenly planets. So alright, you won't go in that, then I'll make my own. So with his mystic power, he created an entire heavenly planets and gave those to Harishchandra. So then that confused Indra, that to have simultaneously, just like even in Switzerland, I'm sure if you had two Berns, two Zurichs, it would confuse everyone. The old Zurich would become envious of the new one. You see, something like that, but probably even more confusing when you're talking about the whole planets. So Indra's whole position was becoming a little bit dubious. So then to end the confusion of having the whole duplicate planetary systems, he made an agreement with Vishwamitra, alright, we'll take Harishchandra into the Indra Loka, you please cancel out these duplicate planets. But in the meantime, Vishwamitra lost all of his, because by tapasya, he had gained so much power, he's completely expended. After all that, because it wasn't in a pure devotional service, so when you're doing devotional service, the more you give to Krishna, the Krishna again supplies more and more energy. But this Vishwamitra was doing not in devotional service. So his energy was depleted, he was finished. Again he had to do tapasya to build up his strength. So somewhere in one of those many, you see, episodes like this, as he's moving up in the levels of rishihood. So Indra, at one point, said, we have to take care of this person. So he sent one of his society girls, he said Maneka, to see if she could distract him. And even though he was so much absorbed in meditation, when he heard her ankle bells, it broke through his meditation, his austerities, and as a result, Sakuntala was born. So, that even the mind is, you see, very advanced with austerities and everything. If it's not fixed in Krishna consciousness, it can always be drawn away. Sometimes if somebody is coming up too fast, the demigods get afraid that maybe this person will want to take over our position. They may also obstruct or test. The same way there was an attempt to test Haridas Thakur, but because he was completely fixed in Krishna consciousness, he couldn't be distracted. Even so much so that Maya Devi herself came to try to distract Haridas Thakur. Even Lord Shiva has a difficult time in some ways. Anyway, of course he's transcendental position, but it's difficult. Of course nobody can resist except possibly Lord Shiva, the attractions of Maya Devi. But because of his complete absorption in Krishna consciousness, Haridas Thakur's mind remained fixed. Didn't leave the lotus feet of Krishna, didn't go to any of the senses. So by being fixed in Krishna, not taking shelter of any senses, only Maya can attract through the senses. So when Haridas Thakur's total intelligence was fixed in Krishna's service, he wasn't at all taking shelter in any of the senses. So Maya Devi didn't have a hold. Rather, she also confided in him and she took initiation from him into chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Of course, we read in Bhagavatam that even great sages, you can't underestimate the power of these great sages. They're able to, through their austerities, they're able to do such wonderful things that, but sometimes because they're not 10% fixed in serving Krishna, they have some separate motive. It may be a good motive or it may be to elevate themselves, but the intention is not to give Krishna satisfaction. So as a result, there's also some karma, there's some reactions and some instability there. So we find in Bhagavatam, even Vashishta Muni and Vishwamitra, one time they got to cursing each other, and they turned each other to ducks and birds or something like that. So there were such great sages that they became angry and lost their equilibrium, and thus they began cursing each other. So here they became ducks and things. So apparently before that, Vishwamitra one time he tried to curse Vashishta Muni, but that curse was caught by Vashishta Muni on his danda. Couldn't affect, because he said that you're not a Brahma Rishi, you're a Maharishi. You don't have the power over me. So then Vishwamitra, he again did a tapa. He went to Lord Brahma or something and he said, how can I become a Brahma Rishi? He had to do intense tapasyas and things. And finally, Lord Brahma came and said, I want to be a Brahma Rishi, so he gave him the blessing, he could become a Brahma Rishi. Then he came to Vasishtha and said, now I am also a Brahma Rishi. Vasishtha said, yes, congratulations. Now you are a Brahma Rishi. But don't think that that is the ultimate. There's something higher. Krishna is something higher. Because all along he'd been thinking that that was the highest. If I can become a Brahma Rishi, then I'll have made it. That's the topmost position. He said, what is higher? He's almost felt cheated after so many years of tapasya and work. I mean, not years, but you see, yugas, by our calculation. Then Vasishtha Muni said, no, the Narayana Parayanas, the pure devotees of Krishna, they are far above even the Brahma Rishis. So, even a mental son of Brahma, like Durvasa Muni, he was defeated by Ambarish Maharaj. So even Ambarish Maharaj, he was attacked, but his mind was steady because he was fixed in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness is so sublime that even though one doesn't have this, that's not necessarily that one has all this superficial tapasyas and things, but by complete dedication at the lotus feet of Krishna, by complete surrender and service, one becomes fixed. And one is under the complete shelter of Krishna. And Krishna is Yogeshwara. He is the master of all mystic powers. In our sampradaya, you see, therefore we are not concentrating on these mystic powers. Some yogis teach their disciples that they should meditate so they can levitate. And they come up a few inches and then bounce down, and they think that this is a great achievement. But this Prabhupada gave the example that once there was a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He had one or two German disciples. And he mentioned that what inspired that he was that scholar was studying Sanskrit, and what inspired him about Krishna's devotional service. I don't know if there's any trace of them. If there's been any kind of research, whatever happened to those. You did?
Yeah, vaguely.
Srila Prabhupada mentioned that he said that whatever the eightfold mystic system is, they want to get smaller than the smallest, greater than the great, bigger than the biggest, levitate, all these things. This already the modern scientists, they have the same objective. Through their microscopes, they're trying to get smaller. Through their telescopes and rockets, they want to go farther, get bigger. Through their jet planes, they're able to travel. The objectives are the same. So these mystic powers are also material. It's not that they're spiritual. It's actually to develop Krishna consciousness. That is pure spiritual desire. So in our disciplic succession, this mystic powers and such things are always considered on a, you see, a subordinate level, not very important. One example, one time in Remuna, you know that when Lord Rama was coming back from Sri Lanka after having rescued Sita in the Pushpa Viman, they came over Orissa on their way to Ayodhya. And there was one very beautiful place. Sita said, let's stop there. It was all coconut trees and mangoes and very luscious and beautiful. So they just stopped there. And in the discussion, they were having a discussion, and Ram was telling about his future avatar, where he would appear as a cowherd boy and be playing the flute. So Sita wanted to know what that avatar would look like. So they stopped at that place, and there, with his arrow, Lord Ram carved a deity of Krishna in a stone with the arrow from his, and to show Sita Devi. That deity is being worshipped in Ramuna as Gopinath. It is the Chur Gopinath deity, the deity that stole the condensed milk for Madhavendra Puri. So the seva or the worship of that deity came to the student of the six Goswamis, an associate of Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit. So his chief disciple was Rasikananda Das. And one time some yogi, he apparently came to Yamuna, and all the villagers, the pujaris there tell this story, that there's a samadhi there to the stick of the neem twig that Rasikananda brushed his teeth with. So why have they put that into a samadhi? So they explained that one day all the villagers came running to Rasikananda that, come immediately, there's a yogi who is flying to the village on a stick, on a branch. And Rasikananda was brushing his, early in the morning he's brushing his, in India they take a twig. It's called neem. The Lord Chaitanya appeared under neem, so the same neem, to take a small section of the branch and you chew on it. And then because it's a soft branch, it becomes like a brush. In fact, even the modern medical dental surgery, they say the best motion for brushing the teeth is a vibrationary circular motion. So when you brush on with a twig, the only motion you can do is this vibrationary circular motion. But anyway, that's another point. Everything Vedic has got its perfections. Anyway, so he was brushing with a twig, just in case it might seem very primitive, but the neem branch itself contains all kinds of juices which are very good for not only for the teeth and the gums and everything, but they're good overall for the airs in the body. There's a story about a man who walked to some place, and on the way he kept using this babul, another type of tree they used to brush his teeth. By the time he reached that place, he got leprosy. Because although that's very good for your teeth, it's very bad for the airs in the body. Then he was told on the way back, you just brush your teeth with neem. And by the time he reached back home, he was cured of the leprosy, because the neem is very good for the airs in the body. Anyway, so he was brushing his teeth with a twig, not to get off the point. Not very interested, and they kept pressing him, no, you should come and see this yogi. He is flying. He's flying. Just, villagers, they're very simple. In our Padayatra, in the Suhotra Maharaj was saying, I think that the most simple people in the entire world are these villagers. Very simple people. They're just very innocent, very simple people. So when they see someone flying, you see, even when they see somebody walking, thousands of them come. To see somebody flying, you see. So they kept, no, you should see this. He's flying. And Rasikananda said, this is not important. And he took his twig from his mouth and put it under his leg, and he flew around the ashram 4 or 5 times. This is not important, simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Landed back down and finished brushing his teeth. So they took that twig and they put it in, made a little monument for him. So our acharyas, they don't stress these things because Krishna is the master of all mystic powers. So if you're carrying out Krishna's work, well, his will be done. Because these things also, they can become very distracting for the mind, so the devotees, they avoid. So in our devotional service, of course, previously, to engage in this type of devotional service was especially organized by the Brahmanas and by the twice-born people, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas, type of people who are born outside of Vedic culture, normally would be very far from this kind of spiritual concept of life. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so kind that he has given this special benediction that anybody, they can take to Krishna consciousness. I mean, they can get this mercy, no matter what their previous qualification or disqualification may be. But normally it might be difficult to fix the mind on Krishna, but by this process of chanting Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur 𝒍𝒂𝒏𝒕 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. It is an engaging in the Sankirtan movement. It's quite easy to fix the mind on Krishna. Still, some effort has to be made on our part. We should try and depend on Krishna, and He'll also give us the intelligence. Teshang shabada juktanam bhajatang priti purvakam dadami buddhiyogang tang yanumamu vayanti te. And of course, we should follow the intelligence given by the bona fide spiritual master. Here, just like Sri Vishnupad, Hare Swami's giving always such good intelligence for printing and distributing Srila Prabhupada's transcendental literatures, involving everyone in this spiritual sacrifice, so pleasing to the Lord. Like this, we follow the higher intelligence, avoiding that type of intelligence pulled by the material senses. Our material senses may always be pulling us how to enjoy the sense of touch, the taste, the hearing, the seeing, the mind, the smelling, but rather we engage how to do everything for Krishna's pleasure. In this way the mind becomes fixed, it becomes linked with Krishna's lotus feet, and therefore it doesn't become tossed about by these currents of material desire. Srila Prabhupada explained that as soon as we begin to desire something material, immediately we become in anxiety. So, to avoid that anxiety, we should always desire to serve Krishna. This is essential. This is explained in this verse. If we're not connected with the Supreme, then we can't have a steady mind, can't have transcendental intelligence. No possibility of peace. If there's no peace, how can there be any happiness? So, it's a very important point. Tomorrow, we're observing Vamana, Dwadasi fast on Ekadasi. And I think you know about how Lord Chaitanya observed Ekadasi when he was 2 years old. This Ekadasi was always very dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, when he was just 2 years old, hardly speaking, one day, see, normally Lord Chaitanya, he would cry, and then when the ladies would go, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then he'd stop crying. But this day, even no matter what they did, he wouldn't stop. So after about 10, 15, 20, half hour of chanting different, he wasn't, you see, for 2 years, right from that time he would always stop crying, but this time he wasn't stopping crying. So they called in Jagannath Mishra that, please, your son is not stopping crying. It was a new phenomenon. So then Jagannath Mishra put little Chaitanya Nimai on his lap and said, what's the matter? Why are you crying? Immediately stopped crying. He said that Jagadish Pandit and Hridai Pandit are having a big feast today offered to the Lord for Ekadasi. And I want to have that prasad. Jagannath Mishra himself, he didn't know about any, he got no invitation. Because and how the 2-year-old son know what Ekadasi, it takes a few years to know about Ekadasi. You don't have children do Ekadasi normally. So they don't, even if they do, they just eat what you give them anyway. So they were astonished that, of course, Jagadish Pandit was Jagannath Mishra's close friend. But he lived about 2-3 kilometers away on the other side of the Jalangi, Saraswati River. And they hadn't informed of any. It was Ekadasi. But how did Lord Chaitanya, little Nimai, how did he know about Ekadasi? They couldn't figure it out. They hadn't taught him about Ekadasi at that point. And whether there was really a festival that day or if they didn't know anything. But he wasn't stopping crying. They went off to the house of Jagadish Pandit. So this was once a year, maybe on the same day, I'm not sure, one of these days. Because for the Lord, he doesn't have to observe Ekadasi. But we offer the Lord can take the grains. Usually make separate offering. So they were offering some special offering for the Lord on Ekadasi, but they would be taking the next day. And then they went there and there they had prepared like about 108 preparations. All little pots and in front of the deity. Jagannath Mishra was astonished. How did he know? No, I didn't even know. How did he get the information? So then he told Jagadish Pandit that this Vishwambara, Nimai, this thing happened. And then even Jagadish Pandit, he said that I didn't tell anybody because nobody can take the feast. It's Ekadasi, it's just for the Lord. I tell everybody next day. So he took it that nobody knew anything, but he knew, therefore somehow the Lord is acting through him, some kind of an awesh or something. So he should he can have the offering. And they are very happy to give all the offerings to little Nimai. You all set up with those slides? Where? You're going to show it in here? Too late? They didn't bring it in, so it wasn't on there. Anyway, so then Lord Chaitanya, he partook of that prasad, and both he and the Jagadish Pandit and Hridai Pandit, they were very overwhelmed. In this way, Lord Chaitanya, even from 2 years old, he was actually encouraging everyone should follow this Ekadasi. He requested his mother, when he went to Jagannath Puri, that one of the few things he requested, you follow Ekadasi. He heard at one time the Pandavas in Puri, they wanted to force Lord Chaitanya to take the grain on Ekadasi. It's prasad, you have to take it. Prasad you can take tomorrow. There's nothing you have to take it now. So apparently, of course this is one of those things that the devotees in Puri say, but Lord Chaitanya bowed down to offer his respect to the prasad. He stayed in that position until the Ekadasi was over, then he got up and took prasad. This way, he was able to outsmart the Brahmanas. Lord Chaitanya, he set up the things. Unless you want me to just stop and wait while they get all the mechanics done. Or as you keep going, they can set it up. So, the special purpose of Ekadasi is that we should increase our glorification of Govinda. That we don't take grains on Ekadasi. That's especially to help us to remember the lotus feet of Krishna. And that's why we also try to increase our chanting. Of course, if we're doing important service, then we go on, but that day is especially for making a little special effort to be a little more conscious about Krishna. One time somebody asked Srila Prabhupada that, maybe it was me, I think, about some of these special days like Ekadasi and Kartik month that you get, so many bonuses. You get 1,000 times the 100 times or something like that, the effort during Kartik month by doing things as if you were doing another type. Similarly, Ekadasi get bonus points. So Srila Prabhupada, in fact there's stories about how even a husband and wife, they were having a big argument over something and yelling and throwing things, just full out fight. Even in the Vedic times, I guess sometimes these things did happen. And as a result, they were just so absorbed in fighting and whatever, arguing with each other.